very straightforward. You can choose the English. Vous pouvez choisir la version française et vous pouvez choisir un sketch aussi. Et tout ça est disponible dans mon magasin. Donc, all comments, all subscribes, all follows, all the engagement you do on this live is super appreciated. It does help the social media god to take notice of my little attempt here at promotion. So I do appreciate you being here and participating in the chat. That does make a difference. So thank you in advance. So tonight I will be working on pages from the book number 4, the first this first part. So without delay, let me just find it. 8. Yep, wrong folder. Because I wasn't working on this. No, that's the old. Okay. I just opened the backup. Sometimes it's confusing because they look very similar. So, yeah, that's not the right one. So I'm going to close this and open the right file. Well, things are not going my way tonight. All right. All right. So I was working on the last panel of page 7. It's a nice couple of pages. I shared some of that on social media if you're interested. I'll sometimes share a process from my comics, so if you want to compare, because I do make improvements as I finish color, and you can see how much this panel specifically has improved. Pretty happy with how it turned out. But now I'm gonna kind of finish this panel here. So one thing I like to do is use clipping masks, so that my shadows only affect these this group here. It makes it easier when you want to make shadows. So I tend to separate my scenes like that. Yep, wrong thing. Clipping does a good job in letting you cleverly select zones. As you can see, it kind of when it sees a little pathway, will block it and then just fills out what makes sense. There's a lot of intelligence behind it, which helps a lot when you're making comics. All those little things that are a chore are made a bit easier. Okay, so you see I forgot to add this little section, although this part won't be printed, but I'm being a bit paranoid about that. If you see the blue line here, all that's below that will be cut. So that's something to keep in mind when I draw. I don't necessarily need to put a lot of effort to draw something that's not going to be on the page. And as you can see, the color change here is because I was using gray to fill. Sometimes I make that mistake, but it's easily fixed. Since all my shadows are on one layer, I can just log the transparency of this. That means that I cannot draw outside of what's already been drawn. So I'm just gonna choose my my black here, which is the dark brown, and just fill that in. So everything now uses the same dark brown. This dark brown I also use to do my ink. I don't like to use pure black for ink. I like to use a little bit of an offset because it looks better. Yeah. So I used to I tried many things. I used to draw everything. I tried like painting every line in different colors to match like the fill. And although it created a fun effect, it's really time consuming and feels a bit overdone. I find that just painting the brown line like that adds a little richness to it. And I would change it a little bit in different ways. For instance, if I'm drawing a scene like that's a background, like very far away, then I will change my line to be blue, so that it matches kind of our atmospheric perspective. So if you look out to the distance, everything tends to turn blue. And that's called the atmospheric perspective, and something I use a lot to enhance some parts of a drawing. Even if in real life there wouldn't necessarily be an atmospheric perspective, sometimes I will add some to kind of separate the foreground from the background and give more depth to the drawing. I think it's a nice feature that you can do. And convention season is drawing closer. I got a lot of stuff that I'm planning to use for the convention. I got a new tablecloth, some new bags to put my drawings in. I've been making drawings for to sell at the conventions. If you're interested in seeing them, I post them on Instagram and Twitter. And they will be for sale at the Montreal Comic Arts Festival, the FBDM, and also at TCAF. Pretty excited about that. It's my first time to attend TCAF. I've heard great things about it. Everybody says it's a lot of fun, and there's usually a pretty good response. I don't know. I've never been there. And I don't know with COVID if it affected anything. But, I'm having high hopes. Looking forward to see what the event is about. Ooh. So what else is new? Let me think. Pretty exciting news this week. The one of the comic that I really enjoyed as a kid, although it wasn't meant for kids, is going to be animated. So it's called a Red Ketchup, and I don't think it's ever been translated, but it should be. It's a really fun comic about a crazy FBI agent who's addicted to a million drugs. And we just learned that it's going to be animated here in Montreal. And a guy I know is working on the backgrounds, so I'm sure that this must be a lot of fun to be involved in such a project. I really wish the best for it, because I think it certainly deserves it. It's been such a staple of the comics here, and something different, from what was done traditionally. Another news, there will be an expo. There is an expo currently in Montreal for Henriette Valium, and I really suggest you go check it out. He's one of the major artists of the underground movement here, and I really appreciated the man. Very good person, and wish I would have spent more time with him, but I'm kind of a bear. I keep to myself too much. And living outside Montreal, I don't really want to go in too much. But I did appreciate him. He was a very kind man. If you're curious, I did a tribute to him on my channel. You can see the drawing I did. And yeah, so Shadow is coming around pretty nicely. I'm trying to figure out what's enough instead of trying to do everything. I want to be able to work on other projects as well, and I kind of try to focus more on the quality of the line work than the rendering of the shadows and stuff like that. So just by focusing on that, I think I save a lot of time and still end up with a good, I think, a good product. I've been reading, looking at Jeff Darrow's work a lot, and taking inspiration from it. It's not so much about the rendering as drawing all the objects clearly. And he's a bit like me in a sense that he did never draw a shadow. And he said in an interview, I feel like I cheated the people if I don't draw everything. And I do feel like that as well. I do relate to what he's saying. When I draw something, and although I would like to kind of draw some shadow and hide some parts of it, I find it really hard. I try to get over myself and try to sometimes hide some detail and shadow. But I tend to want to draw everything. So I don't know. I think I need to work on that. One guy that's been inspiring me a lot is, of course, Magnolia, who's a master of blocking out shadows and only drawing, really drawing with light. You can feel the light in his work, something I appreciate a lot. Is that drawing that don't even need to be colored. This week was also the the birthday of Planet BD, a shop in Montreal. They had a sale last weekend. I kind of stay home, so I don't know. If you'd like to purchase my comic in a store, there are the one of the only store that sells it. Besides La Boîte à BD Laval, probably still has some. I haven't had too much success there though, but in Planet BD, it seems like there is an audience for my work more, so I did sell some copies there. Okay, so that covers the shadow. One thing I like to do is add a bit of richness to the drawing by adding just a little kind of dusty things, like just some little imperfection to the material. I try to see if I can have different kind of, you know, lines for the different like material. Like this is, I don't know, this is metal, so maybe more lines, and you know, this is kind of a tissue or something, so maybe it's a bit more dots. Yeah, maybe there's like a stain there, like I don't know, somebody peed their pants or had some blood spill, I don't know. So I think this little thing really does help to make things alive. Like if I were to remove it, it's very sanitized and really lacks a little bit of I don't know, it's too pure. I don't know, I'm probably overdoing it because I think I can, it's like my new pet, this thing, and I kind of been doing it everywhere. But I do think that there is a value here, and I kind of been refining how it works, like as I'm saying, like trying to vary it by material. Like this is the tile, so maybe more scratches with some little stains mixed in, just some happy little stains, as Bob Ross would say. And maybe a bit of speckle, but more scratches. Maybe like a little pill there that somebody dropped. But more scratches, so just kind of scratching everywhere. And maybe one of the tiles is broken. But you know, it makes the kind of the universe feel more lived in. And I'm gonna add some detailing to the trim here. For that, I would prefer to use the perspective guide so that I don't make anything stupid, but just wanna And you know, I'm kind of thinking that I should have kept my detail in a separate layer. So what I'm gonna do, I want to select everything that's happening on that chair. So, but thankfully I have that zone here of my cutter, so I can easily use Control and select the visible part here, and then go to my details and cut that out, and then paste it back in and associate it with my chair. And then the rest of the detailing, I can put it lower. I kind of keep like the stuff that's on top, which makes sense. But you see this, I can put below my chair, so that when I do my atmospheric perspective, I can affect those, which otherwise might kind of stand out. And if you stick around, you might see what I mean. But See, this will really only affect what's below. So if I were to put like a yellow layer here, and you can see that the little detailing is affected, would probably be like something like that with a different effect, but that's about it. Wrong color. I like to work with layers. As you can see, this page is like layer 120, 211. Ooh. Yeah, that's a lot of layers. It was a very cold day here in Montreal today. Did have a small walk. It was sunny but cold. So I went outside a little bit to have a walk after supper. Took a quick walk in the backyard, but it wasn't really too nice. Looking forward to summer. Back to 2 books this week. The new book by Nick Pitara, who really didn't need my help to be back because its campaign is doing tremendously well on Zoop. The new it's a new platform for crowdfunding. So looking forward to see how this is gonna turn out. He's doing great on it, but of course he's I think he has more of a following, so that helps. His comic is also amazing, so seems like he's gonna be doing well. Why is this not the right color? Actually, it's gonna be more yellowish. I don't want it to be too close to it. Maybe like this. Then I want the kind of a white. Show like maybe some piece of wall is missing. So maybe that's some dried up blood, so maybe a tint of red. Maybe lighter. Okay, so for the final phase of doing a page like that, as I said, I want to play with atmospheric perspective to bring out the main elements of the composition. In this case, I want the background maybe to be a bit darker. You see I tried it with a yellow. Now I'm gonna go in and delete the content of that layer and try different things. So I'm gonna take my gradient. Usually I go with just simply brown and something like that, and kind of just play around with the transparency. So there's a gradient in there, so it looks more alive. And then I can block transparency and try other colors, because sometimes, you know, maybe putting a bit of green in there might be interesting. Maybe not. Maybe I want to try to, you know, play around with the angle. Now I try another color, like what if I use that's difficult. I should have redone that gradient instead. And a like from Nick Cly from Live Necropolis. Thank you, Nick. You should check out his comic. Let's try red. It is really powerful. I'm gonna keep it like that. I want to try a bit more. Usually on top of everything I will put a kind of a light from the top. Typically in a room you're gonna have like lighting on the top. So below the bubbles I'm kind of just drawing a straight line down using soft light and just kind of hint at it, but it does make a difference when you know, play with it. If I remove it, you're gonna see it's a lot flatter. So this affects the whole drawing, but I could say, oh no, I just want it in the back. And now it affects this guy, but not Gautier. So what I can do, Gautier is on a separate thing, it's easier. And he actually has his own already. Yeah. So he's already done. Question is, do I want to darken the bottom? I can try and see how it looks. So we'll take my trusty brown and see if I add some bottom lighting and maybe lower it and see how it works. I can try to pin it to the chair as well. That might be good. Like this. And maybe I want to put an additional light only on the chair. And if I do that, I'm gonna remove it, but I do want it to be, I'm thinking here. So this is gonna be part of the chair, but I'm gonna use a radial with my yellow. And I'm gonna trying to putting a for a bright light on the chair itself. Just lighting it up, like if there's a light on top. And I do like how that comes out. I would like it to affect the line work as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a folder and yeah, put this guy in and all this in, and then I can take out these effects. There you go. Yeah, so you see now that it affects the line work as well, but only within that folder. So I can try to move it around, and now it looks a bit too strong. So I think just like that is enough. Maybe not so much. Yeah, I think like that is good. Okay, one thing more. I want to add a bit of more shadows to buttocks here. Kind of framing him a little bit better. Alright, well, I think that this is good for this page. I'll get on to the next. Yeah, this one had a lot of layers, I remember. So these guys I can put in their own lane, their own folder. I was keeping all those layers of construction, but really never do anything with them. So I'm just trying to set up the file now so that I can do the shadowing work and that it makes sense. Just trying to clean up a little bit. There's so much stuff in there. Screw it, I'm just gonna delete it all. Just keeping the perspective. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start, I guess, the tools. Thinking of how I want to do this, I guess the shadow just kind of standard. Hello, Calcifer. Is that a from a Howl's Moving Castle? There's a little character called Calcifer. Very cute. Very cool. I do love those Ghibli movies. I'm currently working on the book 4 of my comic book series Tales from the Interface. In a slowly decaying futuristic city, social class is determined by the amount of time you spend in a virtual world called the Interface. Pretty quiet tonight, so thank you for joining in. I'm currently working on the shadowing part of my comic. As you can see, I'm adding shadows to the art, and I kind of work in onion layers like that. So this is like I don't know. So I first start with a sketch and then ink, and then I will flat out the colors. And this step here is really just highlighting and putting shadows in. I prefer to put the shadows only, and I don't put too many highlights. I find that it creates a good look in itself. After trying many things, I kind of ended up here. Thank you. Yeah, so it's every book is like 48 pages long, and it takes me about 2 years to produce one. So I go slowly, you know, slowly but surely, like the turtle and the fable. You know, I do want to produce like something that people will enjoy and that I will be proud of. So that's just how long it takes. I do attend conventions as well and sell them there. This summer I will be in Montreal and Toronto to sell my books. I'm very excited because we've been confined for a while because of the COVID thing. So excited to show my books to real people. You know, my last book 3 came out this spring, and it was financed through crowdfunding, but it's never the same as kind of, you know, selling it to live people, getting their feedback, you know, and interacting with them in a live setting. So looking forward to that. I've been missing it. So my secret to shadowing, this is what I'm doing right now, is a clipped layer on top of the flat color. So if you see here, I have on one layer I have my character here, and I have a kind of a shadow who's overlaying that section almost. So it just makes things a little bit simpler when you're trying to select. So I kind of use a 30% color burn. If you're familiar with Photoshop or Clip Paint in this instance, this is Clip Paint Studio. Color burn is one of the layer styles that you can find here, and it adds up a little bit of a tint to it, kind of a burn. You see, instead of, if I didn't have that, it would be grayish and boring, but with that it just adds up a little bit of a pop, I find. I think I got inspired by 10 Earth Shattering Blows for that, because he's doing that Thanks. I think it's worth it. It just it takes so long to come out with something, and it's when in the comic world, if you don't come out with something like every year, you kind of not in the loop. In case people kind of forget about you, which is annoying. So I try to keep alive on social media, and I'm trying to do these live to try to show that I'm there and working on it as I am like every day. But hey, oh, thanks for following. Very much appreciated. Yeah, so I share my work like once a week, every Thursday. But I've been I do work every day, so I think I take one night off a week to have some time with the wife. But besides that, I work pretty much every night, like 2-3 hours. So I have my day job, and then I have that. Yeah, so I like to do this now, once a week, just kind of chill and share what I'm doing right now. It's always different. Like recently, I had to reprint some copies of book number 1, so I had to redo some older page. It was kind of interesting because you could see where I was at in 2015 when I started, and what I'm doing right now. And of course, there is some improvement, which is encouraging. So it's starting to get nicer, but it's really you need to take your time to make it well. Yeah, so I started working on the story around the early 2000s, and sketching some ideas, but really only started like the main story around 2015, and then I published my first book of that series in 2017. So I sell it through my website, or through Kickstarter, or some few local comic book shop that I can reach. I don't have a lot of time to spend on this, so they have to be pretty close to my house for me to bring them there. And I don't want to spend time on shipping and managing that too much. So I just kind of concentrate on what's close. But I am excited to go to Toronto this summer. It's going to be the furthest I've ever been to promote my comic in a live setting. Okay, so this is t-shirt part. Okay, this other end. Actually, this will be all darker. And adding, but it's crazy how much you can improve when you keep your focus and continuously try to improve every day. I was like, I really came more of a realization when I was working on those few weeks ago, working on those first few pages and trying to do the same thing and seeing how much I improved. It's a bit frustrating because you say, man, I'm gonna redo it all, but then am I gonna spend 2 years on like remaking book 1 and instead of just continuing the story? So that's always a dilemma. And I think mostly I should continue working on the story rather than spending a lot of time working on the old stuff. But I still decided to I still listen to that little voice a little bit, and yeah, I fixed maybe 5 pages of book 1 before I reprinted it again. Since I was going to Toronto, I kind of felt pressure to go out with my best foot. Maybe one day, if I do an anthology of all the books, I might like rework more pages. So I'm planning to have 5 books in total, and then now I'm working on book number 4. So I am fairly close to completing that story arc, and it is a big goal, and I'm pretty hyped about it. But these things is like it's like a roller coaster, you know. You get driven by completion, you know, but then when you reach it, it's kind of a whoa. You get overwhelmed, and you kind of have a down. It's really kind of a drug, you know. These kind of big project that take a lot of time. You get hyped up in your brain a lot, and then when you finally finish it, you get kind of you get kind of a down. So I'm trying to manage myself a little bit in that sense, and listening to the words of Ray Bradbury, who said that you should have more than one project, because if you was it him or Asimov, maybe one of them, he was recommending working on more than one project at all times, so that you always have one kind of in the oven. I'm not sure he really did it out of a fear of the roller coaster I talked about, but it does keep your brain in a continuous searching pattern, and we are a searching machine. The human is a searching machine. We're always searching. We need to be searching for something, and finding it is not as fun as the search. So trying to keep that spirit alive is pretty important. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do. You know, you get a lot of time to think about these things when you're spending 3 hours drawing every day. But you know, you just try to find the motivation to go on, and I think at this point I built an habit, which is a good thing. But still, sometimes it can be hard. It is tempting to just sit down and play a game or do something else, but you don't get as much of a fulfillment out of those things. And when I have a book in my hand, it's a great feeling. I'm really looking forward for this next one, because of course it is the best I've ever done, obviously. I was pretty happy with the last one. Yeah. So this is my latest book that came out this spring, and it was the biggest success I ever had in the crowdfunding. So it's a like 48-page full color. And I kind of do it by myself. So okay. I've wanted to make a comic book myself, so it's cool to see your process here. You talk about your already completed books. Thanks. Yeah. Well, any questions you have, really, I'm happy to answer. Help me think about what to talk about. It's cool that you're trying to make your own comic. You just the best thing to do is to start. I don't know if you already started, but make yourself a schedule. And one thing about schedule is don't necessarily burn yourself out. It's tempting because when you get in that flow, if you've probably experienced that. If you like to draw, like you get into that zone where time flies. You don't see things happening, so you don't see time pass, and you're so much in the flow, and that's a great feeling, right? But it's a trap. You want to trick your brain. So really, the way I recommend doing it is stop before you get too tired, and stop because you're too tired. You need to stop before you get too tired, because what this is going to do is create that, what I was talking about, that searching need. It's going to create a need for you to continue and search for that completion. And if you keep on doing that, it's really going to drive you to finish things. So start slow. Draw. If you're, I don't know what you were trying to do. If you're going to try writing a comic, or writing or drawing or both, but really that is a good thing to do, is to give yourself a schedule. Say you might be really busy, but that's okay. Just do 15 minutes. It's enough to start, because I was kind of depressed with art, and I kind of stopped drawing altogether around 2013, and I didn't really want to draw anymore because I was fed up with the kind of the scene and everything, and I didn't feel like drawing. But then there was something missing. I wanted to do it, and I started 15 minutes a day, and I just kept on doing it every day. And then eventually I just added another 15 minutes to it, 30 minutes a day, and until now I reached 2-3 hours, and I would continue. I seriously, I could do 5 hours, and sometimes, to be honest, I cheat, and I do. But then I'd end up super tired, and the next day it's not as fun. You're kind of burned out, so it's not as fun. You really want to get that drive that will get you back to it. So I watched a few master classes, and I got that one from R.L. Stine, the guy who wrote Goosebumps. Like he was saying, I write 6 hours a day, not a minute more. And he's saying, like, this is really the drive that will get me going, coming back to it, because it's never completed. Because if the timer rings, he's gonna stop. Like he's in the middle of a sentence, doesn't matter. He's just gonna stop at that point. And I think that's a good thing. Put yourself a decent schedule that you can do every day, for weeks on end. That's not gonna tire you out, and just stick to it. So yeah. And I also heard that from Jim Butcher from the Dresden Chronicles. Like he said that when you sometimes he doesn't want to he doesn't want to write. He's saying, "Oh, I know, I'm too tired. I don't want to do it." And then he ends up like working a whole night and writing 3 sentences. And then one other night he's gonna be really into it and and write a whole paragraph or 3 pages. And then, but at the end, when he's looking back on the work, you can't really tell, if these 3 pages took one night and this 3 sentence took 3 days. It doesn't really matter. It's an average of what you're doing overall. So you stick to your schedule and you sit down and you do the work. So another recommendation I would do is try to be simple and try to do a short story first. Don't try to make a crazy thing like I am. Like I'm way over my head. It's a lot of work to get that many pages in. I've been doing it for 6 years now, 7 years, and I still have 4 more years to do. So 3 more years. So it's pretty nuts. So get a reasonable objective. Maybe try to script a 8 stories, 8 pages, maybe something like that. That's much more attainable. Depending on how much time you have to invest on this. I think a 8-page story is plenty. If you can come up with a story in less pages, why not? That's probably even better. So you can try to do that, and try to make it the best you can, but only in a small sample. So that would be, I think, my best recommendation. I actually followed that recommendation a little bit because in my first and second book I did have some shorter story that I worked on before I started on the main story here. Just kind of to get my mojo on. Okay, so you can see I pretty much colored in. Now what I'm gonna do is kind of the trick I do to kind of highlight his scene. So as you can see, all of them is within that chair. Yeah, shortcoming strip. Yeah, that's good if you have a script. I did a strip for a few years. It's a fun thing, I think probably the hardest part of it is really the scenario. Oh, I forgot to color this guy on the side. So yeah, so I think the challenge with a strip is really getting that joke and you really need to be in the mood of having a joke. What helps with that is carrying with you a notebook at all time and writing down everything that you see that's remotely funny, and try to reverse it around and see it from another angle. And that's it's kind of a frame of mind that you need to have at all time, but it can be developed. I was getting kind of good at it at the end, but I've always been more of a fan of long form stories or short stories, like more not so much humor as adventure or kind of philosophical tale or like not suspense, but shocking tales, those kind of things. More than humor, although I think I have a fair dose of humor in what I do. Some people told me I'm funny, so I guess I am to some people. So just why is this like that? Okay. So selecting, and I think I had the wrong color. I did, yes. So this is the right color. Okay. Yeah, but comic strip is a fun thing to do, and I know that you know, if you're trying to promote yourself, sometimes a short thing, a short gag, might be have more chance to come out and be viral. So that's a good thing. You know, it's more easily shareable in the world we live in. That's a good thing. You know, what I'm doing is not very easily shareable. So it's harder to make a comic like I do, I think. I'm kind of hoping that I can finish that, and by the time I finish it, I'm gonna be good enough that my next project will get some interest from a publisher, so that I don't have to manage the whole business of making a comic. I can just focus on drawing and writing the story. That would be nice, because doing all the marketing and all that stuff is it's not fun, but it is a huge work, and that takes me away from drawing more. But you know, there's a lot of ways that you can promote a strip. You know, there's a lot of online platform. You don't even need to build your own website. If you're familiar, I don't know if you're reading any comics online, but there's a Webtoon that you can use, which has a very big following. A lot of people read comics there, so that's a good place to try your luck. If there's such a thing as luck. Otherwise, Tapas is another pretty popular webcomic place. I was on both, and I got tired of it because they're not really meant for my kind of comic. Readers there are not looking for what I'm doing, so it wasn't really worth it for me. But I think for a lot of people, it's a good place. I find more of a following out of Kickstarter, actually. So I kind of been building my audience wherever I can, like promoting on all social media, you know, trying to appear on podcasts, you know, contacting reviewers, sending copies of my book, you know, trying to be present on other people's Kickstarter, trying to, you know, cross-sell stuff. It's you really have to try whatever. It's not easy. Promoting is a job in itself, and I would like somebody else to do it. But you know, I think that more and more they kind of expect the author to do that. So I might not have a choice. You know, I like to talk with people and I like to interact, but Sometimes I wish I had more time to draw. Okay, so he's pretty much drawn, so now I can do what I wanted to do before, which is an effect overall on the chair. So see, this is all the chair, and then what I do is that I create this new layer, I clip it, so that means that it's only going to draw on pixels inside that layer, inside that folder. So you can see, let's say I just fill the entire thing. See, it's all yellow. So what you can do is create having a gradient. No, not like that. Actually, maybe. So I like to use soft light. See, so it kind of highlights that scene. And then the tools, let's say I want to do the same thing. So I'm gonna put a layer on top of the tools. The tools is these things. So I'm gonna clip it on top, and then I can put a darker layer on it, and kind of just make them a bit more looming, darker. Ooh, somebody went on the floor. Oh, Boba Fett, what are you doing? Trying to escape. All right. Yeah, so it's fun to play with these things. You know, you can also and then take an eraser and kind of play around with it to put some highlights. So let's say I just, you know, I might not work, but I can try. I don't know. Probably doesn't make enough of a difference. Oh, maybe it does. Or what I can also do is a gradient, so that it gets progressively darker as we go out from the center. I think that might be nice. So let's see. I'm just gonna remove that, and I'm gonna add a new layer. It's clipped. And I want to select this, and here, just reverse that thing. And in theory, it should create light in the it should be transparent in the middle and darker on the edges. So let's see if I set that up right. Yes, exactly. So now I'm gonna clip it on the layer, and maybe a bit too strong, but I can play with that. So the tools that are in the middle are a bit lighter versus this. Everything is kind of flat, but now it's a bit lighter. So I think that works well and creates more depth. Okay, so I added a light on top of my character here, but I also want to add a darkness to it. So what I'm gonna do is another layer, also clipped, and I'm gonna add reverse this. Yep, wrong. And it's a bit too strong, but I can make that lighter. And I probably want to add an additional the gradient like that to the second character, him, because he's further down like this. So see, I'm kind of making his legs darker, and I think that this makes a lot of sense. So I'm happy about this for now. I'm gonna play around with the background now. So chair is done, and so this is my background. Again, I'm gonna clip to it. Oops, and another layer. Clip to the bottom. So one good way to do this, when you have a straight line and you want to shadow it, is you just use the shift key to create a straight line with a bigger brush, and then that's the best way I found to do this. So I'm just gonna take a four brush, and if I do it correctly, it should go well. Just align it like this, and then I can maybe erase this part. And I want to do it here as well. I use a lot more straight line than I used to as well. I used to be kind of stubborn and wanted to draw everything by freehand, but never looked. You know, my hand is not stable enough probably, but and never looks as good. All right. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you again. And I hope you have a good lunch. And thank you, and hope to see you next time. Bye. I'll be probably finishing soon as well. I have maybe 15 minutes more to go. So see you next time. Let's move on.